Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the sixth turn of the Shadow Tech Goddess, subtitled Cat, Part 3, Chapter 3, Return to Clovis. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the most important chapters in the book, because if I don't get this part of the story right, the book itself is moot. I have a daunting task. I have Kat sitting there in the ruins of Clovis, expecting the man in the picture to come, and she expects him to be hers. She believes he is a gift from the gods to her. She has no idea what to do with him once she gets him. She has been told that men and women abuse each other's flesh, and in her innocence she thinks that's supposed to be a good thing. So she has a skewed notion of what men and women do and how they're supposed to behave in each other's presence. She has no clue other than what she's been told by her sisters and by the Otto Khan, and she's dutifully waiting in the ruins of Clovis for his arrival. And when he gets there, she plans to abuse him, whatever that means. And then we have across the continent, on the other side of Cana, Lord Belmont, heartbroken over the loss of Lady Gwendolyn, his Murthig, as he's been told, a woman to whom he is universally connected. And with her loss, that connection has left him floundering, stuck in idle, stuck in reverse, alive but dead. And we had the appearance of Professor Hannah Ben Sherlamp, who gets a lot of the notions of extraplanar entities correct, but probably is missing a few gaps. She tells him of Clovis, a extraplanar entity who can replace the Murthig, and he, in a week or two, is going to her office so she can find him a Clovis. Whether she knows how to do that or not is unknown, and he is planning on returning to Clovis, as he does every year, to commemorate the anniversary of Gwen's death at the hands of the demon in blue light. So this is a critical chapter. If I get this wrong, the book itself is pointless. So let's hope that I know what I'm doing as a writer, as a plotter, as a human being, and that this chapter is convincing, that this chapter is entertaining, that this chapter makes sense, and how these two far-flung people come together. Here we go. Let's dig in, shall we? Chapter 3, Return to Clovis. August 40, the anniversary of Gwen's death. It was time to return to the place he dreaded most, Clovis, where Gwen died. He would go there, leave a flower at the site of her death, say a few words, and try to go on with his life. Clovis was a place he never wanted to see again. This would, with luck, be the final anniversary visit. Stenstrom wasn't much of a pilot. His old friend, Lord Aram, used to fly him about before they lost touch after the Seeker was scrapped. He had lost touch with everybody, all his friends, most of his family gone. He rented an automatic ripcar, or autocar, from a dealer in Tyrol for 900 sesterces, plus a 100 sesterce deposit against unforeseen damage. The largest and most comfortable model available, a nice blue one. It had a handheld control glyph that controlled all of the craft's various functions, along with a pre-programmed route for one passenger from Tyrol to Clovis and back. Clovis was not a standard tourist or business destination, therefore its route there and back was extra. The glyph they gave him was easy to use and quite foolproof. He got in and allowed the rip car to thrust up into the clouds and take him on the long, somber journey alone to Clovis, across the flat Ester marshlands, across the sea to the green lands of Hala, and the eventual bare-fist and knobby lands of Vithland with its hard-pan cage of mountains, rising up like a towering cairn over Gwen's grave. Even from the air and the climate-controlled comfort of the autocar, the mountains below gave him an eerie feeling of loathing and disquiet. Lyra had demanded to come with him on this trip, but he refused. This time he was coming alone, as he should have before. He sat in the back of the autocar, sinking in the splendor of his padded seat, lost with his thoughts as the ship flew itself, leaving civilization far behind. He would come to Clovis, do what he needed to do, then in a few days he would go south to Calvert and allow Professor Hannah Ben Sherlamp to do whatever she would with him. If she could take away his lonely disquiet and grant him some measure of peace, then he would be in her debt. A pleasing, automated voice came from the control glyph. "Entering environs of Clovis, 8415, north by west, descending 1,000 feet per minute to an elevation of 11,000 feet. Down the autocar came, through the clouds, into the thicker air, its blowers coming on to smooth out the descent, until a huddle of weathered brown buildings came into view, clinging to the base of several mountains like the disorganized wash of debris left behind after a flood. Clovis, fabulous in its isolation. The autocar lazed about at treetop level, scanning for a nice flat patch of ground to land, finding a suitable spot several hundred yards south of the ruins. Primary landing site caged. If you would like an alternate location, another may be selected for a minimal surcharge of 50 sesterces. Would you like to cage an alternate location? No, was his terse response. The autocar settled in. Vehicle set to idle. All systems nominal. Local temperature 1.67 degrees Celsius. Please watch your step. Enjoy your visit. He got out, feeling the harsh northern chill. He listened. Sudden, impenetrable silence all around, save but a breath of wind. He pulled out his HRN coat and slid his arms through the sleeves. As it always did, the coat blanked out the cold. His HRN had been with him for years, through space and all the amazing places he had visited. He felt nothing with it on. Even his sadness was a bit less, but only a bit. He dropped the autocar's control glyph into one of the HRN's many pockets, sashed his trusty nth pistols, took a deep breath, and trudged north, across the broken pebbles and crushed shale into the ruins of Clovis, with luck for the last time, for he wished to never come back to this wretched place ever again. The isolation was staggering. There wasn't another city for hundreds of miles. His mentor, Captain Davidge, lived about 400 mountain miles to the north. With such isolation, he felt like the sole person on Cana, with only the mountains to laugh at him. He looked back once, seeing the fancy blue autocar sitting idle a surprising distance away. It was a hopeful little piece of newness amid all this desolation and decay. The unsmiling buildings, the empty windows, the forlorn silence, it all came back to him. As he walked north towards the site of Gwen's death, he felt that same confusion, that same feeling that many versions of himself had stood here, had walked these grounds, along with many versions of Gwen and other people he did not know. If he shut his eyes, he caught quick images of the ruins occupied, full of life, people roaming about, Gwen still alive, Gwen a different person, 1,000 different Gwens, all alive except for his. The professor was right. Many different universes touched in this place, and he was subjected in a hypnotic dance to see them all. Ahead, past a stand of statues of the old Clovis, up the hillside towards the roots of the mountain, were the stone doors fastened to the ground, the place where Gwen died. He stood there silently, feeling all the pain come right back to him again. The demon in blue lights had done this, had taken everything from him, his love, his standing, his ship, his very will to live. All gone, murdered. Many emotions, many from other places packed into his chest, filling him up. Rage, fury, the desire for revenge. This was the most he had felt since Gwen died. He could hear her voice on the wind, drifting from across time itself. "Belle, what's that? Coming out of the wall, do you see it?" He could see her draw her trusty fedula, her family weapon. He saw her dying over and over, the fedula clattering out of her hand. "Belle!" He stood there seething for his murdered fiancée, the only woman he would ever love. No Clovis could ever replace her, no matter what the professor said. He marched up to the doors. They laughed at him. "You've returned. Have you another sacrifice for us?" He knelt down and left a single pink rose that he had picked from her memorial stone on the hill near his home. He had nurtured it all the way from Tyrol, marring not a single petal. It was still fresh and vivid against the mottled browns of Clovis as he laid it down. "For you, Gwen," he said as he turned to leave. He got the sudden feeling he wasn't alone. He sensed danger. A gnarled voice spoke. "You came from the Temple of the Sun?" There, sitting on the heads of the old Clovis statues on all fours, was a tiny crouching woman. She looked to him like a bizarre black hat, though she was like none he had ever seen. Black hats wore stunning scarlet robes and covered their faces in featureless black masks. This one wore a baggy tunic and leggings that appeared to have been vibrant green at some point, but were clotted with dirt and streaks of food, staining them to a dull brownish color. Ragged strips of torn cloth were wrapped tightly around her wrists and ankles. He could sense the river of raw shadow tech moving through her. Her head was also uncovered, revealing a mop-like tangle of whitish blonde hair, framing a small heart-shaped face and a pair of wide green eyes that sparkled with crazed light. Her shadow mark wrapped around her right eye like a lover's embrace. Her face was marked up, the telltale signs of having been in a rough fight. Blood matted her hair. She was contorted into a painful crouching position, like a cat. She sat there with firm, effortless purchase atop the statues, her hands and bare feet firmly rooted. She had a tail of sinuous shadow tech that flicked and darted with easy, mesmerizing movement. Deadly shadow tech claws danced about her fingers. As he looked at her, she seemed odd, somehow deformed, as if she had too much flesh in the chest and in the rear end, but it was difficult to tell as she was crouching. Black hats were evil and crazed. He wondered how she had managed to avoid detection by the sisters, who protected Cana from their savagery. "Do you live there with the sun?" she asked. "What of the City of Love?" She seemed somewhat familiar to him, though he was certain he had never seen her before. More flashes, more glimpses of other places. Across the universes, he had seen this person before. "Did you enjoy fighting me?" came a voice whispered in a different universe. "I did enjoy fighting you," he said, half in a dream. "Say again," she said, closing her eyes. "Speak. Your voice is lovely." "I didn't say anything. Where did you come from? Did you come from the vault down below?" Her tail flicked. "I do not go below in the living earth." Her accent was horrid and guttural, like an animal attempting to speak. To his ear, it sounded like, "I don't go below the living earth." "Where have you come from?" he demanded. "I have always been here." "How is it the sisters have not come to drop you off?" She laughed. "I am greater than the sisters. I laugh at them. I have been waiting for you." "For me?" She pointed at him with her sinister shadow tech claws. "For you!" The black hat rose up a bit. As he suspected, she was inhumanly endowed in the chest and in the posterior area. Her breasts were so enormous she could suckle a pair of elephants at once. She spied the rose he had left for Gwen. "What is that? Pretty! How pretty!" she said in a purring fashion. Her green eyes flashed. In a streak, she bounded down off the statues, galloped around him on all fours like a beast, and had the rose in her hand before he could blink. She sniffed the flower. Is this plant a gift for me? Is it from the Temple of the Sun or the City of Love? Seeing this filthy black hat holding Gwen's flower filled him with rage. Absolutely not! Give me that back! He roared. He leapt up to get the flower, and she sprang away with ease, her speed belying her massive girth. She sniffed the rose again. Oh, she said, you want this? Do you? All men want something. You're a man. Is this what you want? Why? They circled like two wrestlers ready to lock up. That is none of your concern. Give me that back, he spat again. I'm warning you, you're playing with fire, Black Hat. She clearly had no intention of giving it back. Her leg muscles were tensed up and bulging through her filthy clothes, ready to spring. She spoke in a growl. I am not a black hat. He could hear the pent-up excitement in her voice, the glee, making her already challenging accent even more difficult to understand. He reached out to take the rose, and she nimbly moved aside again, her speed incredible. Come and get it! She snarled as she ran on all fours back to the central ruin proper, stirring up a cloud of dust as she ran, tail trailing in a series of limber ripples. Come and get it! She taunted. She turned and waited for him to catch up, sitting on all fours, tail flicking. Following, he lashed out with TK. As it latched on, she sprang away with inhuman agility, again assuming a tensed-up position, ready to spring. Your garment, she said in an odd growl whisper, noting his HRN. The color of mercy. There shall be no mercy for you, Black Hat, if you fail to give me back my rose. Give it to me, and I'll walk away, and you can have this elder-down rat-hole all to yourself. She placed the rose behind her. She seemed troubled by her own giant-sized breasts. She had issues placing her arms. She was off balance. The Black Hat was done with it. It seemed she had been wearing a harness that had mimicked her breasts and her rear end, enlarging them to ridiculous proportions. Its very size gave her trouble moving about. She cast the harness aside, revealing herself to be of thin, modest proportions. Free of the harness, she raised her clawed hand and beckoned him to come. This is our place, provided by the gods. You have been promised to me, and now let us abuse each other. How I have waited. What sort of demented Black Hat was this, he wondered. Black Hats didn't physically engage with an enemy. They preferred to hang in the shadows, safe under a painted cloak, and cast shadow tech, and she had a lot of it flowing through her, raw and primal, like an unbaked cake. He launched himself into the air and landed in front of her in a hard breakage of rock and dirt. Like an uncoiling spring, she laced him with claws of microline shadow tech, moving with uncanny speed, shredding his shirt and pants. Any normal man would have been gutted by such an attack. The sisters, despite everything, still granted him their power. He warded off the attack. He swung with a back fist and she ducked. She was so agile, like a panther. She was the fastest, most mobile person he had ever seen, and Black Hats weren't known for that. Quite the opposite. They normally stood in place and slung shadow tech. While he was off balance, she bludgeoned him across the chest with her shadow tech tail in a whistling hammer blow, sending him down hard. She jumped on him, sitting on his neck. You, your plant, and your garment belong to me. She cuffed him a good one, drawing blood from his mouth. Say it, she said with unbridled joy. Say you are mine. She made to hit him again, but this time he caught her slender wrist and sent her upside down and backwards into the stone, where she crumpled up for a moment in a daze. He jumped up, ready to begin pummeling her. She reacted in a frenzy, clawing, biting, and kicking. She barked out words, but he couldn't understand them. He got control of her arms just in time to take a punishing headbutt square in the forehead, followed up by another hammering blow from her tail. Stenstrom fell back. Laughing, she threw herself onto him, and they grappled in the grass. He managed to get some space and punched her in the cheek. She was stunned. Her eyes grew foggy, and he hit her again, knocking her face first into the grass. She quickly recovered. "Ah!" she cried in apparent joy, wiping the blood away. She was savoring this battle. He picked her up by the neck, arms and legs waving, and she wrapped her tail around his arm and chest. The rose! Gwendolyn's rose. It was crushed, smashed up on the ground as a result of their pointless fight. It lay there in the cold dirt, flattened and sad, petals detached like little pink tears. Stenstrom put the black hat down and stared at it. Then he turned to walk away. He'd had enough. Enough of this place. Enough of this person. He was done. The black hat leapt over his head in a fluttering of cloth and landed in front of him, crouching down, claws displayed, ready to continue fighting. "Get out of my way, please," he said quietly. "This place is ours," she said. "The gods are watching. Come, abuse me. That is what men and women do." He looked around, seeing the old desolation. He wanted to go home, desperately. "I'm done. Goodbye. Pray the sisters don't ever find you here." He moved past her. Growling, she quickly latched onto him from behind, her claws at his throat, and her bare ankles crossed around his waist. "Do not turn your back on me," she hissed. "Come to the habitation. I shall tend to your wounds." He seized her by the back of the neck and roughly threw her off. She landed on her back and lay there in the sparse grass. Righting herself, she seemed puzzled, unsure what to do next. Stepping around her, he continued, making a slow way out of the ruins to his waiting autocar in the distance. He heard her claws clattering across stone. He felt her gaze on him. "Aw, what's the matter? Did I abuse you too much? Do you seek an embrace?" she called out in a chiding voice. She sounded like a child losing her playmate. "Embrace me! Listen to my heartbeat!" He paid her no mind. He shook his hand, and the autocar's control glyph appeared in his palm. "The gods will not allow you to leave, man in garment the color of mercy. You are a gift to me." That a fact. He looked to the sky, clear, to the east, light high-altitude clouds heading out of Vithland. To the south, a bit of rolling fog moving across the ground, quickly dissipating. "Seems like the gods don't care one way or the other," he said. "I have questions," the black hat said, leaping in front of him with renewed vigor, "and you shall answer." He ignored her. This little green ruffian seemed more a genuine nuisance than an actual threat. He raised his control glyph to power up the autocar. It was simple. Just press the button and the craft would power itself up. No hands-on needed. Then he would step in and it would fly him back to his home in Tyrol. Nothing happened. He pressed again, still nothing. Puzzled, he checked the glyph. It said, "I'm sorry, auto lock not found. Reconfiguring. Please stand by." He shook the glyph. What in the name of creation? The black hat was back at his side, eyes wide, reeking of stale must. "You have an autocon captured in your device?" "What? No, this is an autocar, not an autocon, whatever that is. Do step away, please. I'm launching out of here." "What do you want?" she asked. "I want to be away from this place, and from you in particular." The black hat wasn't giving up. "But why? You cannot leave. You are mine. Did you not enjoy abusing me? We may continue abusing each other, nude perhaps, or in the waters of the cistern. Perhaps you are tired. I order you to come with me into the habitation. There we will remove our clothes and sleep." He laughed a bit. The thought of getting naked with a filthy black hat amused him. "Really? Slot off, will you?" The control glyph spoke again. "I have no files pertaining to your destination. Please state destination." "Oh, for the love of creation. Tyrol. I wish to go to Tyrol." "Configuring. Please wait." The black hat continued, pestering him. "I have clothing to display, and wondrous keepsakes." She pointed to a misshapen window at the top of one of the ruined buildings. A dreary, unsavory darkness covered with ages of dust peeked out of the empty frame. He glanced at the window and felt nothing but dread at what might lie within. "Hear me. The moment this insipid craft gets it together, you need never bother with me again. You may bask in this horrid place all by yourself. That is, until the sisters come for you. The black hat pulled at her tangle of hair. She seemed nervous and unsure of herself. She leapt up onto the hood of the autocar. "Get off of there," he shouted. The control glyph spoke again. "Please specify weight to be carried." 220 pounds. Configuring 100 kilograms, plus or minus 15 kilograms for your convenience. The glyph went green. "I am pleased to inform you configuration is complete. Auto lock has been established for a direct approved route to Tyrol 2314 West, with a transit time of 10 bells 16 beats, or 4 hours 57 minutes, Canaan Standard. Authorized payload 115 kilograms. There shall be an additional fee of 77 sesterces for the reacquisition of destination. Do you agree to the additional fee?" Yes, I agree to the bloody fee. Let's go." "Thank you. Beginning power-up sequence." The autocar's systems hissed. Lights came on. The black hat was in a frustrated frenzy. "Tell me what you want," she demanded. Tell! "What do I want?" he said. "I wanted to come here and find peace with my departed love. Instead, what do I get? I get you, an insane black hat wearing a giant-size breast harness, and an autocar that doesn't seem to work right, and is nickel and diming me into my grave. Now, all I want is to leave." "The harness was a gift for you," she said. "For me? It was ridiculous." The black hat rubbed her chin. The autocon's small lift engine vibrated to life. The black hat grabbed hold of the control glyph, trying to pull it out of his hand. "I shall take your autocon and hide it." He lifted the glyph out of her reach and pushed her aside. The black hat pawed at her head, trying to puzzle something out. Ah! She cried in jubilation, as if she had just solved some pressing mystery. She bounded away, fetched the sorry remains of Gwen's flower, and brought it back. "You came here for your woman, yes?" The autocar seemed to be taking an eternity to ready itself. He waited impatiently. "Yes, I have already told you that." And your woman was killed, yes?" "How do you know that?" he asked, somewhat astonished. His autocar was ready at last. "I am pleased to inform you your craft is ready for launch. Please watch your step when boarding." The door to the spacious cabin opened on its own, revealing the fine padded interior. He stepped in and seated himself. "I saw her ghost!" she cried. That was too much for Stenstrom. "What? Gwen? You saw Gwen?" The black hat sprang inside the autocar, bouncing on the opposite bench. The autocar instantly reacted. "Additional weight detected. 115 kilograms exceeded. There will be an added fee for the extra weight. Do you agree to the fee?" "What? No!" he cried. "Please remove added weight. Standing by." "Out!" he roared, pointing outside. "Get out before I start pummeling you into the dirt." The black hat was undeterred. Yes, I saw the ghost of your love." "I don't believe you." "She told me her name. It was Gwendolyn de Prentice." "What?" Though the words were slurred, she seemed to have said Gwen's full name, Gwendolyn of Prentice. She could not know that. She must be telling the truth. He felt all the heartbreak of her death return. If her ghost was truly still here, why did she not present herself to him? Why would she speak to a wretched black hat instead and not talk to him? Perhaps in death she wanted nothing to do with him. What did she say? What did she tell you? She said she was angry for being dead, and that she missed her handsome man. The autocar blinked. "Please remove unauthorized weight." "Shut up!" Stenstrom roared into the glyph. What else? What else did she say?" The black hat jumped out of the autocar, crouching in the cold gravel. "Stand by," the control glyph said. "Weight limit authorized. Closing hatch." The autocar's door slowly swung shut. Stenstrom stuck his head out the window, awaiting more information. "What else?" The black hat complied. "I know who did it. I know who killed her. I saw the thing that did it. The creature in the atmosphere suit, in blue light." the demon clad in blue lights, part machine, killing Gwen. The demon was drawn to you and you failed to destroy it, Hannah Ben Sherlamp had said. You failed Gwen. And I know where it is, the Black Hat said. The autocar was ready to go. Commencing launch. His mouth dropped open. What? Wait! Delay launch! He spat into the glyph. Delay, damn you! Launch delayed. Standing by. The autocar's engines thrummed back down to idle. There she was, smug, sitting in the gravel of Clovis, holding the flower, her tail flicking with interest, green eyes nested within her tangle of hair, and her shadow mark. Your love is dead, and you failed to protect her. The demon that killed her laughs at you in comfort and safety. And that's not all. I have more to tell. It wears her flesh. Wears her flesh? Gwen's lovely body defiled by a demon? There was so little of her left to take back to Prentice. His disgrace. She held up the smashed rose. So, tell me what you want. He slammed the surface of the autocar with his fist, making it shudder. I want revenge! That's what I want! Minor structural damage detected, the control glyph said. Security deposit rescinded. He huffed and steadied himself. If all I'm left is to feel rage and hate, then let it be so. If it costs me my family fortune, if it costs me my remaining standing with the sisters, and what is left of my reputation and finishes this universe off, then so be it. So be it. I will have at this demon. I want revenge. She seemed pleased she had information that was important to him. She hunched up a little and giggled. Well then, I know where the demon in blue lights is. Your lady's ghost, she showed me. She tossed the rose aside. If you wish revenge, then you must treat with me to have it. Stenstrom got out of the autocar and stood before her. Tell me where the demon is. Ah! She slowly patted around him on all fours, close, violating his space, her shadow-tick tail hoisted over her head with excitement. You want I should tell you? She said, her voice shaking a little. Tell me where it is, he repeated. Did you enjoy me abusing you? She asked. Her question triggered some dim memory from within. He remembered the same woman asking him a similar question. But it was a different version of this woman, in a different place. She was wearing black, trimmed with red, and a mask. She was taller and prouder, cleaner, more polished as a black hat, more dangerous. She lifted her hand, and with her long black nails flicked him on the cheek. Appears we have some bargaining to do first. Her voice was airy, breathy. Now it was his turn to ask the questions. What do you want? She continued orbiting around him, clearly relishing this. What are you going to do if you find this demon? I'm going to destroy it. Ah! She stopped dead in front of him and stood up straight for the first time, the linkages of her shadow-tech armature clicking and stretching out. She was head and shoulders shorter than he. I shall tell you. I shall tell you. Stenstrom listened, awaiting the information. The autocar's blower kicked on, as if impatient to depart. But first... She got very close and licked her lips. I am hungry. I have no time for this. I don't care if you've supped or not. Tell me where the demon is, and then go dredge your foul dinner out of the cistern. First, I am hungry. You shall feed me. Then I shall disclose the information. He lashed out and got her by the throat. She gagged and fell to her knees. Tell me or you die. Abuse me all you want. I am hungry, she stammered, choking but defiant. He held his grip. Her stomach gave a loud gurgle as she struggled. He let her go. She held her throat and stood. Not nice, she said, her eyes watering as she caught her breath. I shall expect all the courtesy I have heard fine gentlemen offer their ladies. You are not my shh. She firmly placed two clawed fingers on his lips, stifling his rant. You want to kill the murderer of your love? I have got it, and I shall not say a word until I have been properly fed and shown a little courtesy. Her fingernails were filed to needle-like points. Stenstrom made to protest. Shh, shh, she said again. Now, my handsome man, shall we? And with that, we conclude Chapter 3, Return to Clovis. Very important chapter, as I said. Stenstrom and Cat have finally met. And I wonder if Aram and Alesta dreamed in their wildest dreams that their initial meeting would be a brawl in the Ruins of Clovis. Stenstrom is super powered, if you can't tell. He derives power from the Sisterhood of Light. They lend him their power, and it makes him very strong, very invulnerable, and he can even control TK like they can do, so he can lift things off the ground, and he can even fly using TK. He can do a lot. So Cat's attack with Shadow Tech would have killed anybody else. He was just lucky the sisters were lending him their power. My efforts in this was Stenstrom still moping around. He's still heartbroken, and he is ready just to leave Cat where she is in Clovis, hiding from the sisters. But she's been waiting for him all this time. This meeting with him did not go as she thought it was. He thought he would just wrestle with her in the grass, and then they'd go get naked and sleep in the habitation. That's what she honestly thought would happen, but that's not how it went. But if you recall the previous chapters, when she would talk to her sister Walker about men, Walker told her, men can be controlled if you find out what they want. Just ask a lot of questions. Keep asking questions, and eventually you'll know what they want, and then you have them. So in persisting, in asking him questions as the autocar reconfigured itself, and it's kind of odd that the autocar just suddenly lost its configuration. I wonder how that happened. While he's waiting for the autocar to reconfigure itself, she's pummeling him with questions. Then she figures out that she has a bit of a bargaining chip, as she knows the demon in blue light, and she's talked to Gwendolyn, and she knows Gwendolyn's name, which validates her points. And now she tells him she knows where the demon is, and that gives her a bit of leverage against him. So that is the meeting of Cat and Lord Belmont. A little bit rougher and tumbler than most meetings, I suppose, but we'll see where this leads, and I hope I made good choices. I hope this meeting seems plausible and does not ruin the rest of the book. I think it turned out the way I hoped it would. I think anything else would have seemed cheesy or cheap, and not been as effective. I think this was the way to go in conducting this meeting. So we'll see what happens as the story moves along. Next week, we continue with Chapter 4, An Unwelcome Dinner Guest. So it looks like Lord Belmont's going to have dinner with Cat before he finds out what he wants to know, even though he wants to be rid of her ASAP. Until next week, this is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Peace out.